the Equality for Unity TED Talk. Here we discuss key issues such as gender inequalities, ageism, and racial discrimination. The big question is, how do these inequalities affect our lives? More importantly, how do these inequalities affect poverty?
Our first subtopic is racial discrimination. So what is racial discrimination? Racial discrimination is the type of discrimination against people based on their skin color or race. Recent events of this issue are the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, which were both caused by police brutality, thus sparking the Black Lives Matter movement. Another event that has happened recently is the rapid rise of xenophobia against Chinese or Asian people caused by the COVID-19 outbreak.
Today we have a special guest who will be joining us today to answer some of our questions. Please welcome Jilly, who went to Dubai in 2017 to 2018 to work as an excursion coordinator.
It is my pleasure to be interviewed with you guys.
Okay, so first question for Miss Lee. Have you ever experienced racism before? If yes, how so?
To be honest, yes. When I was in Dubai, I went to a store. It's a perfume store, and there was another person who actually went inside the perfume store with me. But when I was approaching the girl, I was about to ask this scent that I really like. Like I was gonna ask for the price, and when she looked at me, she it's like she just ignored me, even if I was the first one to get to go to her, and she accommodate the Arabic guest instead than me. So I would say that's one of the coolest thing I've ever experienced in a racism.
Mm, okay, next question. What is
Hmm.
the most recent event you have heard about regarding this topic? What are your thoughts about it?
Oh, ex- um, to be honest, I saw in Facebook the other day about this Mexican guy who was just driving a trailer truck, and out of nowhere, this American girl was like calling 911 and reporting him like there is a Mexican guy here who I think is an alien here in US, and the Mexican guy was like shocked, like, what's happening with you, girl? Like, what am I doing with you? I'm just driving a truck trailer for my company. And the girl was like, didn't stop from talking to the phone. I'm not sure who she's talking with, but there was this I think a colleague of this Mexican guy who was telling the girl already that he is not an alien. He has like an ID, a residence ID here in the US. What are you talking about? And but the girl kept on talking.
So, what do you think about it?
My gosh, if I were at that guy's place, um, I will really be humiliated, and I have no face to show already. And but I I cannot promise that I cannot do something bad to that girl, but I think it would. If I would be on his place, I would just shut my mouth and do my thing.
How do you think racism started, and why do you think it's still happening to this day?
It will actually start with how parents teach their child to how to communicate with other race. Like i- if a parent would teach their child like you don't have to do something bad on the person. If you think his race is black, don't make fun of him or like that. If the parents would be the first one to teach their children uh, to be um to be that, and I mean, parents should be teach their children not to humiliate if ever they see something, someone different race.
What do you think you can do to reduce racism?
Mm, well, it's not in my hand, to be honest, if how people think, because even if I push someone, if I'm with someone and I can see her or him keep you know uh, humiliating someone because of his or her race, I will not be able to control her or him, since it's his own mind. But for
Yeah.
me, yeah, but for me, I would probably do just try to try to get along and just understand how people have how people are different in some ways, I would say.
Oh, okay. Do you think the country you're staying at, the Philippines, is a
Hmm.
racist country?
No, I would say no, because actually they just ignore. If they see a lot of foreigners here, they're
Yeah.
not that friendly, but they ignore. They don't humiliate. They
Yeah.
don't do racial discrimination and all. They just ignore. So I don't think Philippines will be like that.
Racism. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you for joining us in today's interview.
no
Yes.
worries.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
You special guest joining us today. Please welcome Daniel from Lithuania. Thank
Hello.
you for joining us in today's episode of Equality for Unity.
So, Mr. Dan, have you ever experienced racism before?
I haven't experienced racism, but I saw uh, people being racist.
Where or how?
In the
Where?
street, I see people calling people bad words for other races.
Oh, like improper
Oh,
names.
Yeah,
Oh.
like
and who was that person? Who was
it's
the
mainly
one being this?
old people calling n words on black people in
Oh.
my country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is the most recent event you have heard about regarding this topic?
So the most recent event is Black Lives Matter, where a cop killed a innocent black man because they thought he was paying with fake money, and he was innocent.
What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah.
It's disheartening to hear these things from America. These racist people.
How do you think racism started and why do you think it's still happening to this day?
It probably started because in the older days, people just saw other people with other skin colors, and they just judged them because of that.
What do you think you can do to reduce racism?
You could just I mean, people shouldn't judge people by their race or how they act. Just accept people how they act or how they look.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think the country you're staying in is a racist country?
It's not really a racist country, just though people are kind of racist because not just The old people, not the like the young people, because I see a lot of old people call other people bad words because of their race.
Oh, I guess like old people are more have a more like traditional way of thinking,
Yeah,
right?
Traditional
yeah,
mindset. Like we can't really change that, but hopefully in the next few generations that will be changed.
yeah. I hope so
Yeah.
too.
So thank you very much for joining us today in our TED Talk. Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Ella and Nitz. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Mitch Carpio, married with two kids, a Filipino Chinese. I was born, lived, studied, worked, doing business here in the Philippines.
Hello everyone. My name is Sheila Lero. I'm 29 years old. I'm a Filipino, single, and I'm province of Davao del Sur. I live here in Manila to work as accounting staff or office staff in a private company right now.
Okay, let's start with our first question. Have you ever experienced racism before?
Yes, because Chinese people are given a connotation of having no manners because mostly of the foreigner or Chinese people arrive here in the Philippines, say bad words, do not follow the rules, spit on the floor, short-tempered, always shouting. So they affected the Filipino Chinese people here in the Philippines. Since I have small eyes, they think that I'm also Chinese that who arrived recently, but they don't know that the Filipino Chinese people are different from the Chinese people because since we grew up here, we also adopt the cultures and way of thinking of the Filipinos. Actually, we're having Filipino Chinese cultures in our family. So that and mostly of the Filipino think that Chinese are rich, thrifty, hardworking. So the Filipino people who see me connect one or two traits when they see me. But in reality, the Chinese and the Filipino Chinese are not the same.
Okay, how about Sheila?
Okay, I think yes, in many ways. But the worst thing I remembered was when I was in grade school. I don't know if it is really racism issue, but as in my experience, when I was younger, my classmates, even teachers, I feel like I don't belong. I'm not one of them. I can do that and this just because I'm poor and they're not. Like I can't afford this and that. And every time there's an event in our school that our parents is needed, I'm the only one going alone without my parents because I don't grow up with my mother beside me. And it's not easy. And they even throwing words at me like, you are worthless like that, poor girl. I think it's more discrimination or bullying. That's my opinion about that question.
Okay, thank you for sharing your experiences. Okay, next question is what is the most recent event you have heard about regarding this topic? What are your thoughts about it?
Okay. I'm not really used to watch news, reading article, but this one became trending recently and I saw it on social media. It's about the black people and white people in US, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's two black people killed this year, and recently it's George Floyd, as you mentioned in your introduction. I can only say regarding this recent event I've heard is that it seems like white people treat better than black people. That black people is bad, no equality treatment for them, and it's not really fair. And I feel so sad about that.
How about needs?
Uh, I think they connect the COVID-19 to China and hate Chinese or Asian people for it. They said the Chinese people brought the world to this pandemic so that they can have the control for everything.
That's that's good. Yeah, they connect the COVID to the A people. And the next question is, how do you think racism started, and why do you think it is still happening to this day?
This might be because of the difference on the way we look, talk, think, and others versus the normal that we are comfortable with.
They always compare about our look and the difference between many people. How about Sheila? What do you think about this?
Well, as the definition of racism, that it's the belief that personality, behavior, and morals can be traced back to race, and the belief that one race is superior to another. I think it will always begin to people who is always comparing themselves to others, that they are better and look down other people just because of what they can do. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for sharing your opinions. And next question is, what do you think you can do to reduce racism?
Uh, I think teach people how to keep an open mind that every individual is unique, regardless of race. That we are all human beings that should be loved, respect, understand, and taken care of.
I can encourage people around me, my family, friends, to be always fair to everybody. Rich or poor, black or white, normal or disabled person, Filipino or not, let's just be equal to everybody.
That's a good way to reduce racism. And the last question is to ask you that, do you think the country you're staying in is a racist country? Why do you think so?
Yes, because even though Chinese people helped the revolution here in the Philippines, and help a lot of Filipinos to have work or income, they think the Chinese people are the reason why there are some uh, people are poor. Some people are not aware of the fact that even though those people are Chinese, they have the heart of the Filipinos. Uh, and mostly of the Chinese people are frugal, hardworking, or should I say diligent. That's why they are rich. Unlike the mostly of the Filipino people are slothful, sluggish, and want easy money, and they don't want to work hard. That's all.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Racism
Racism
has
happens
in the
in the
corner,
corner,
Filipino to
Filipino to
Filipino,
Filipino,
especially
especially
now
nowadays.
money
Money
and
and
real
real
know
knowledge
now
now
as
has
more
more
foreigners,
foreigners,
like
like
you
you
as
as
Chinese,
Chinese
many Chinese here now.
now.
Don't
Don't
get
get
me
me wrong,
wrong, I appreciate
that you are better in business and Filipinos are dumb like that and this. What I'm trying to say is that we can't remove it nowadays and it's always there. And that's why I can say that Philippines is also a racist country.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts. There's another question. How do you think racism is related to poverty?
Racism is related us to poverty because of power that want that of some people, like when you have money you can do everything, and sometimes because of that you can hurt people.
Thank you. How about me?
Uh, uh, I think racism is related to poverty, just like before in a big company that I work with. The Filipinos are given low salary, but if you are Filipino Chinese, you are given higher salary, while the Chinese people, uh, they are given much higher salary and higher position.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Today we have a special guest from the Philippines. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Celdrich Tangonan. You may call me CJ, and I am a student from Pace Academy. Thank you for having me here.
First question. Have you ever experienced racism before? If yes, how so?
Have I ever experienced racism? That would be a no. I haven't experienced racism actually in my 15 years of living, or at least I haven't known, or like I don't realize if somebody's racist to me. Maybe it's just because I'm used to it or something, but I haven't.
So, like, have you ever seen, though? Like, have you ever seen anyone being racist to another?
I've seen people being racist online. I have seen that a lot, but then like in real life actually yes. I
When?
mean like you have you like our parents, our grandparents, our
How?
aunties or uncles. They're always like example like if anybody has like a bad trait. Example we go to a foreign country and they have a personality trait that they don't like. They'll always blame it. It's because they're Japanese. It's because they're Filipino. It's because they're Chinese. That's why they act like
Ah,
that.
okay.
It's like like all of their race at least lower. Like even if for me I don't notice anything, but for them they have this conception in their heads.
How about
The
like
personality.
online?
Online you could go through Reddit and like search Black Lives Matter, and there'll be like at the bottom, if you look at the comment section, there'll be like, oh, that doesn't make sense because racism doesn't exist, or like, oh, black people are worse than white people are worse than black people, and if not that, it's not that. You can already look at the like how people treat mainlanders from China. Like with the stigma, right? I'm not sure if you guys like. I'm not sure if it would be relatable for you, but I see it normally with my friends. Like if somebody's a mainlander, there's like a different view on them. Like they're from mainland China, they're not from Taiwan. Like oh, Taiwanese they're better than mainlanders, or mainlanders they're rude or they're noisy or something like that, or they're just like rich kid. I don't know. That's what I noticed.
What is the most recent event you have heard about regarding this topic? And what are your
Regarding this
thoughts
topic, the
about it?
most recent events,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the most recent would be the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the most recent because the coronavirus with the China thing happened before that. Yeah, the Black Lives Matter thing. What in America, in many other countries, there's this stigma against the racial um, background of somebody. If they're like black, if they're Asian, or if they're anything. And we also notice that if when they focus on that scene, the George Floyd incident, they also like most people don't realize that oh the policemen that were suffocating him and was white, and the other policeman that was helping the white policeman to continue it was Chinese. He was also Asian, and people always forget like oh like they always forget that incident with the George Floyd. They always think about it like black versus white, but then they don't realize that that the other races like us Asians, we also had a part in that because of our lack of action caused it to happen.
How do you think racism started, and why do you think it is still happening to this day?
Um, so how did racism started? Racism is more of like an us versus them thing. Example, like you're because like race. What is race? Because race is like for like if you could think about it, like our family is usually the same race as us, right? Our friends are usually the same race as us because race is like a similarity. Oh, we're the same because we're of this ethnic background, and I don't think that all racism is bad. Not is trying to be bad or trying to be mean spirited. But then with us separating people between those imaginary lines between like race, religion, beliefs, I do think that would be the bad consequences against those things, right? Because like racism is like just dividing people based on their skin color, based on their facial features, based on their body type. It's just like saying, "Oh, you're tall. That means you're not. That means I don't like you." Right? We can't control that. Oh, you believe in this book. You don't believe in my book. We can't control that. So like racism is like it's just like to make us feel better about ourselves. It's like telling us that we're special. They're not special. So we have the right to act like that to them.
What do you think you can do to reduce racism?
Reducing racism. I think that most people don't actually mean to be racist. It's more of like a learned behavior. Like our experiences. Sometimes I notice something about a group of people and I think, oh, all of them are like this. Like example, if I get scammed by Alibaba or something like that, then I would have the experience of like, oh, this Chinese commerce is bad, so I won't buy again and I'll be discriminating against them. That is not what racism is, but it is somehow linked to that. And I would think that to reduce racism is not to tell people, oh, stop being racist, that's bad, that's good, or something like that. I think to reduce racism, we must realize, or not realize, we have to constantly remind ourselves that other people are human too, and that other people are human. And we have to remind ourselves that because they're human, they deserve equally to us, and we should judge them as our equal. We shouldn't have a conception of them that is not based on who they are.
So you mean like mindset? It's the mindset of the
Yes,
people.
yes.
Do you think the country you're staying in is a racist country?
Yes.
The
I'm not
Philippines?
saying that in. Yes, I would say so. I mean, like if you look around Asia, like you could go to Japan, you can go to Korea, and like they're not trying to be mean, but we are like in Asia, we are kind of racist. I remember that experience from my class. I was in Boracay and we saw this black man. I'm sorry for saying that, but then and I remember that like a lot of us kids were like pointing at him, like curious why he was black. And I don't think it's bad. I don't think we're trying to be mean to him, or at least I don't remember being mean to him. But it's
So
more
you're
of like,
just like kids because you're kids.
yeah,
You're
we're
like you
kids.
don't know.
You're curious about them, and like example, like oh, I live in the Philippines. I live in Manila. In Manila, it's like the center of the Philippines, and even in here, you rarely see people of different ethnic background. Like they're all majority just like Filipino, Filipino, Chinese, Korean, whatever. Or like all of us are Asian. That's what
Mm-hmm.
right. And then when we see a white person or we see a black person, it's like this thing that's like weird.
Different.
They're different. Oh, golden, like blonde hair. Oh, red hair, like red hair, something like that. Like we we we, we think of them like they're superior than us. Sometimes we think of this like product. We think of this white man as more trusting than another Asian, right? And then we give them a value. We're not used to as a society. We're not used to those type of people, or we're not yet like it's not yet normal for us to see them day to day. So
And
we
you
like
were
there's
like
like this thing
a
that
kid,
they're
right?
different. No, no, not only children, but also adults, right? All my life, I never met a person with blonde hair. When I first see one, there's gonna be this perception. No, oh, what's that? Like,
It's
that's
different.
amazing.
Oh.
Different. Like, yeah, you're tall. You're big ears, like that, something like that. It's like we're not trying to be mean, but it's just like, it's just
Curious.
curiosity. And like sometimes because of that curiosity, we like give them preferential treatment, right? Oh, they're different, so they like it's excusable why they could act like that, or like they're different, so we can blame our problems on him because he's different. He's like this guy is like he's blonde, so it's like it's normal lang if he does something like that, or it's so cool that like example, like if you're gonna punch each other, we'll let him punch us and we won't complain. But if another person punches us, we will complain. Something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's more of like we we just value them more because it's different, it's new, something like that.
Yeah. How do you think racial discrimination relates to poverty?
So how does racial discrimination relate to poverty? I think you can see it in America. That would be the most obvious place to look at it. So if you go to America, you could like there's this stigma, or at least I when I've been there, I know that there's a stigma against Mexicans, right? Like there's always like Mexicans are like they have this perception on them that they're cheap labor or something like that, or like the Filipinos as well. Like when you go to US or something like that. Oh, what are Filipinos? Nurses. Yeah. That's all I can think of.
Jobs are like related to the race. So, like example,
Yeah, it's
nurse nagad or something.
yeah, like that, like that. Oh, you're foreigner. That's from the Philippines. Oh, yeah, you're a nurse, or you're like poor
Caregiver.
or something like that. Yeah, caregiver. Like, don't really think about that. Like, and because of that, example, even if we don't intentionally try to, even if we don't intentionally, sorry, somebody messaged me. Even if we don't intentionally try to be mean or discriminate, there's this thing in our heads as like humans that like, oh, we think of like, oh, you're Chinese, that means you're a businessman, or something like that. Oh, you're Asian, that means you're smart. Oh, do my homework, help me naman. Or like or like sometimes when we're in classrooms, there's this thing. A lot of people would want to become like lighter skinned, right? Oh, I'm so dark skinned, like that, like that. And like because of that thinking in our heads, oh, I rather have straight hair than curly hair. I rather have whiter skin than darker skin. I would rather have like bigger ears, bigger nose, color. Like there's this thing in our head, like, oh, we're inferior, they're better, so I would rather become them. Or if not like that, people that have those traits that are tall, that are white, that are pale, that have whatever, they're like they have this like sometimes they'll have this thinking, oh, I'm better than them, or something like that. It's like we don't mean to make it, but it's because of our experiences. People treat us better than other people. We're treated highly compared to them. So we have this idea, oh, we are better than them. We are worse than them, or something like that.
And
Or like,
that's
yeah,
why like racial discrimination happens, right? Because people think that they are more superior than the other race.
yes, I would think so.
Thank you very much for joining us in our TED Talk today. Yay!
It's no problem. It's no problem.
Thank
Thank you for having me.
you.